In this video, I am going to show how to configure server core machine as the domain controller. So in here, for the simulation purpose, I am using two virtual machine. One is my server core machine and my Windows 10 client machine. When we configure any domain controller, before do the domain controller configuration and the installation, we need to do some post installation task. As you know, we need to configure the static IP address for the server. Also, we need to configure unique name for the server, and we need to set up the time zone and many things we need to do as the post installation task. So this is server core machine, no GUI support, but we have many options to do these tasks, right? So in here I will show one option, that is with the Sconfig. This is the Sconfig option. So you can see new window. With this window we have option. We need to simply type the option number. Assume you need to change the computer name, then simply you need to type the number 2. When you type the number 2, you can assign new name for the computer. So in here I skip that option. So assume you need to change the computer IP address setting, so then you need to type the number 8. And it will show current configuration and you can do the modification. So I go back to the command line. So with the Sconfig option, we can very easily configure the post installation task. So also with the command line, we have option to configure the server post installation task. Assume you need to change your computer name, then simply you can use the command netdom rename computer. In here I type the command netdom rename computer name, then I define new name as the DC. So do you want to proceed? I skip that option, right? That's the way using the command line how we assign the new name. The command is netdom rename computer. Also, you know, there is a very popular command line called netsh. Using that also we can configure the IP address for the interface, network interface. So in here netsh interface IPv4, I am going to set static IP address for the interface number 5, right? So these are the way how we configure the IP address and the name with the command line. Actually, in this demonstration, we mainly focus about the PowerShell commands. So I need to open the PowerShell. It will open the PowerShell. Now you can see this is my PowerShell console. I can identify that with the PS, right? So the first thing I need to assign computer name for this server. In here with the PowerShell command rename computer, I'm going to rename this server name as the core. Then I type enter. It say to apply this setting as earlier we need to restart this computer. This is the current name. So the next step, we need to assign the IP address for this machine. So first thing, we need to verify what is the network interface card number or what is the network interface card name. To verify that, I can use the command get net adapter. With that, I can find my network card name is Ethernet 0. Also, my network card index number is number 5. So now I am going to assign the IP address for the index number 5 network card. So in here, I'm going to assign 192.168.10.20 IP address for the server as the server IP address with the new net IP address command that assigned for the index number 5. That means for this network card my IP address is 10.20 with the default subnet mask. Then this is my gateway IP. Then I type enter. In here I am going to configure the DNS IP address for the server. I am using same server IP address as the DNS IP, that is 10.20. So now I can verify the assigned configuration with the simple command ipconfig/all. Then you can verify my IP address is 10.20. Then my DNS is again 10.20, right? So to apply the computer name, actually now I need to restart this computer. So I use the command restart computer to restart this server. Again I need to open the PowerShell. Now I need to verify the configuration. First I need to verify the host name. So that is co. I changed that to co, that is applied, right? So also earlier we verify the IP address settings, that is fine. Now what I need to do, I need to configure this server as the domain controller. To do that, as the first step, I need to install the Active Directory Domain Service role for this core machine. For that I am using again PowerShell command, that is install Windows feature. Then I need to define the Windows feature name. Install Windows feature. Feature name is AD domain service. Also I need to use all the sub features and the management tool. Now you can see that role installation process, that is success. Now I am going to promote this server as the domain controller. In here I am using the domain name that is netlab.lk. So the command is install adds forest. The domain name is netlab.lk. So in here I need to provide the restore mode password. I assign the password. So in here I need to use the capital A. The meaning of the capital A, I agree to everything, yes to all. Now this will take few minutes to configure this server as the domain controller. So that process is succeeded. So I need to restart the machine. Actually that is automated process, it will automatically restart. So now I can log in with the domain controller. Now you can see it say enter credential for netlab/administrator. So I try with my password. Yes. Now again I can see the server core machine console. Now this machine act as the domain controller. Now I am going to configure this same server as the DHCP server. So before that, again I open the PowerShell. In here, as earlier, I need to install the DHCP role first. So the command is add Windows feature including management tool, feature name is DHCP. So that is success. So now I need to create security group for the DHCP with this PowerShell command. Then I restart the DHCP server. In here I restart only the DHCP service inside the server. So now I need to register this DHCP server inside the domain controller. In here I use the same server as the AD, Active Directory, and the DHCP. So my command is again add DHCP server in domain controller. Then domain controller IP is again 10.20, same server IP. This will register this DHCP server inside the domain controller. Now what I need to do, I need to create DHCP pool. In here we call that is DHCP scope. Now I need to configure the DHCP pool. For that I use the command add DHCP server version 4 scope. Scope name is scope 1. You can use any name. Then I need to define what is the start IP and the end IP to release the IP address, right? So my start IP is 192.168.10.100. Then end IP, that is 10.200, and you can see my subnet mask. Also, you know, with the DHCP server, normally we are distributing IP address, subnet mask, gateway, and the DNS, right? So with this first command, I define only the IP and the subnet mask. So with this command, I configure what is the DNS server IP and the route IP. Route IP means the gateway IP. So in here DNS server IP should be 20. So I enter the command, right? We define the scope ID with the network ID, that is 10.0. Then in here I define what is the lease duration. Lease duration, that is 1 day according to this configuration, that is configurable value. So up to now we configure the Active Directory domain service and the DHCP server role both within the same server. So now it's time to check these things, right? So I go to my client PC. ncpa.cpl. It will open the network connection window. I right click the card, then I go to the version 4 IP. Earlier I used the manual IP option. Here I change that to the obtain IP address automatically. Obtain the DNS address automatically. I use both option. So now my network card trying to get DHCP IP from the server. We'll see what happened. Now again I go to the status. Now this is the status, right? DHCP enable, yes. I got the IP 192.168.10.100 for the 1 day of period. So my gateway IP is 10.1 and DHCP server and the DNS IP 10.20, right? That means my core server DHCP functionality, DHCP role functioning properly because my client can get the IP address from the DHCP server. You can check same thing with the command line ipconfig. So now what I need to do, I need to join this client machine into the domain controller. In here, what I need to do, I go to the advanced system settings and I go to the computer name, then the change. In here you can see there is option called member of, then I select the option domain, then I need to type the domain name. So my domain name is netlab.lk, then type OK. In here I need to provide the domain credential. Actually I can use any domain user credential, but in this demonstration I am not created any of the domain user other than the administrator. So in here I have to use the domain administrator credential. I think this is the correct password. We'll see. Yes. Now my client PC ready to join with the domain. It will request the restart. Until the restart, I move to the core server. Now using the command line or using the PowerShell command, we can create the organization units, groups, users, computers, everything. That is possible. So no need to worry, all the GUI configuration we can do with the PowerShell. But in this demonstration, I will show very easy way to manage the core servers with the GUI way with the remote location, right? So in here, now I log into my client machine with the credential of the domain administrator. In here, I am logging to the client machine using the server administrator credential, right? That means domain administrator credential. Now I successfully log into the client machine using the domain administrator credential. So now I will show how I manage this core server machine using the GUI way using this client machine. Actually, for that I need to install the software toolkit called Remote Server Administration Toolkit that we called RSAT. You can download that from the Microsoft website. In this PC, actually Remote Server Administration Toolkit already installed. So simply with the search button, I can search about the server manager, right? So this is server manager window. You know, normally this console open with the actual server, but with the remote server administration toolkit, with the RSAT toolkit, that capability come to my client machine. So now if you go to the old servers, you cannot see any server to manage, right? So simply we can add servers, right? In here I check the available servers with the find now button. Then I can see the server name core. Then I will add that. Then OK. Then within few seconds you can appear my core server machine with the server manager window. So now when I right click this, I can see add roles and feature option, restart the server fee option, then all the configuration capability. So in here I go to the Active Directory users and computers. Then you know this is very familiar console. With the same way we can manage that core server using the remote server administration toolkit. So this is the way, this is the easy way to manage the core servers. But with the future video, I will teach you how to configure the user counts and other things with the PowerShell. But actually we can do everything with the GUI way using this RSAT toolkit. So thank you very much for watching this video.